Okay.
Hello and welcome to the King's Forum podcast show. I have a very special guest all the way from LA, Darya. Hi, Darya.
Hi.
Welcome. Thanks for coming on my show.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. Darya is basically gonna help spread awareness on autism. One of the
That's right.
subjects, as I was saying, I haven't covered yet. So, yeah, thank you, Darya.
You're very welcome.
Right. So, Darya, talk to me. What is autism?
So, autism is a neurological difference in the brain, and some people classify it as a disability. However, I like to think of it just simply as a difference in neurology.
Yeah.
So, brains have Now, Dr. Temple Grandin talks about the brain in terms of having social, like circuits that are connected or not as well connected.
Yeah.
And she talks about autism in that certain circuits within the brain are not as well connected as others. And therefore, you have what we call autism. And
Yeah.
autism, of course, is on a continuum, which means that you can go from being totally nonverbal to being what is classified as Asperger's, which is what I have, where you're very high functioning, you're independent most of the time.
Yeah.
Um, you can go to college, you can have a job, you can live on your own, all that. So it runs the gamut of the spectrum.
Cool. So, when were you diagnosed?
I was diagnosed around 6 or 7, and I had multiple tests throughout my childhood. So some of the testing came through at 6, some of the testing came through at like 12. And so they immediately knew that I was Asperger's
Yeah.
because, I was verbal, I was high functioning, I had trouble making friends.
Yeah.
I had basically no social skills and I had a hard time with multitasking. I still sort of do. Um, I can't believe I held the job at Starbucks for as long as I did. Um, but lots of multitasking, it was really difficult. And the tests also showed that there were certain socio um, emotional issues that I had where I just couldn't understand how to relate to people in a way that, those who don't have autism can relate.
Yeah, no, I hear you. So how does Asperger's, how does it affect you on your day to day?
So now, um, I've had so many services and so many different classes in therapy that have basically helped me just be kind of what you would call normal. And
Yeah,
so I don't think that it affects me day to day now, but it certainly did throughout my whole childhood, through my early adult years. I'm 30. Um, and in that way, it affected me in, not being able to make friends,
yeah,
not being able to understand the art of conversation, not being able to make connections with people in ways that I connect now. And that I did a lot of work to get to where I am now. And that's kind of the thing, is that you've got to put in the work.
yeah,
There are services, and I highly suggest that people look into those services and do them. And early intervention is number one. But, yeah, it affected the day-to-day friendships a lot.
So what's changed now? You said you have to put a lot of work in, so you now can cope in social situations and interacting with others.
Absolutely. And a lot of that has to do with wanting to
Mm,
learn how to do it. Growing up, I always knew, okay, this is something that it doesn't come naturally to my brain. And so therefore I need to do everything I can to learn and everything I can to figure out what these skills are, because social skills are just that, they're skills.
yeah,
So you can learn them. And I think a lot of people on the spectrum, whether they're nonverbal or they're not, you know, um, many of them say to me, they have no hope, they have no,
Mm.
um, they don't think they can do it, and I always say to them, "Well, you can. It's gonna take time and effort, but you can."
Oh, definitely. Well, you're an example of that, aren't you?
I try to be.
So do you take medications for your Asperger's?
No, I don't.
Oh, really
No.
good. Do you need any additional support or are you quite independent?
I'm fully independent. I'm working on a graduate degree application to Harvard Divinity
Oh,
now, and I have an undergraduate degree from Loyola Marymount, and I'm on all kinds of volunteer
wow.
communities, part of interfaith dialogue, part of racial justice, social justice. I am, I've got an apartment. Yeah.
That's great. That's really great. So talk about Asperger's and how kind of that impacted earlier on um, your friends, your relationships with family and friends.
Well, you know, what it did was it basically limited the relationships that I had.
Yeah.
And when you don't know how to make friends easily, if you can make even one friend, that becomes your whole world.
Yeah. No, I could well imagine.
And yeah, I mean, I tried to make friends where I could, and I did have friends along the way. I did grow up having friends, and my family was incredibly supportive.
That's
And
great.
I have a mom who was so supportive and very proactive in getting me the services I needed, because she knew that kids with special needs or kids with needs that are different need the support that they need, and she didn't stop. And so thank you, mom. But the way it affected me really is just the limitations that it had on my friendships. And um it wasn't like I wanted to be the popular kid. I was never the popular kid,
Mm,
let's make that clear. um and so I never knew how to really do the social dance. When you're in middle school and high school and everybody's in their groups and all that, I'm like the nerdy kid with the book in the corner, and
yeah.
it's like, I know that the geek trope is quite popular in film and TV shows and everything, but it's kind of true. I mean, I really was that geeky kid that couldn't make friends and was reading a book all the time. And
Yeah.
so I had to rely quite a lot on, you know, how can my brain intellectually understand the art of conversation, because
Mm,
clearly the emotional aspect was not there
yeah.
until I put in all the work in it, and now it is. But yeah.
Mm, oh, that's great. So how can we help spread more awareness for autism?
So I think it all begins with dialogue. I think it begins
Mm,
with what you're doing, interviewing people, talking about it. It also begins with people on the spectrum being willing to share their stories.
that's right.
Because if we're not talking about our differences, how are people going to know? And Temple Grandin, I know I mention her a lot.
Yeah.
She was the trailblazer. I mean, she's
Yeah.
73 now,
Wow.
and she lit the torch for people on the spectrum, because Temple, she's a little more like um, her autism is a little more severe.
Mm,
Um, but she was willing to, be in a movie, write a book. She's written like 12 books, hundreds and hundreds of academic articles, journals in her field of cattle design. But she talked about it. She's out there. I was on a webinar Zoom call with her the yesterday.
oh,
She
right.
talks about it. Yeah, it was wonderful. So yeah, talking about it, having a conversation, even if it's hard to do.
Mm, yeah, no, definitely. And that's how we start, don't we? And I'm glad we got to do this today. You
Me
know,
too.
big thing in order to spread awareness. And when it comes out, this video, I'm sure this will help towards that. And hopefully it would make other people with autism come forward and want to talk and share what they're going through in their journey and help build a community to make a difference.
Absolutely. And you know, when I think about Autism Speaks and all the other organizations
Mm,
across the world who are dedicated to understanding autism and wanting to help people be honest, um, means a lot.
definitely.
Means a lot.
Dario, thank you very much for your time. What social platforms you on? Let's get that out there so people know how to.
So, primarily, I'm on Instagram. I do have a Facebook, but I keep my Facebook private, you
Yeah,
know, for
no,
privacy. But my Instagram, I it is public, and it's D Nagibina 2. I can give it to you in the chat, and
I'll put
then
in the description.
you'll
Yeah.
yeah, you'll have it for the description. I'm also on Twitter, same D Nagibina 2, but I don't use Twitter as often, so I'll just go with Instagram.
Yeah, no problem.
D Nagibina 2, Insta. There you go.
Thank you very much. As I
You're very
said,
welcome.
thank you very much for doing this, and we'll get this out there to help spread more awareness. And to all the viewers, please like, share, and subscribe the video. And thank you very much, Darya, and speak to you soon. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're,
Thank you.
thank you.